Chaos commenced on Erangel as we headed to military base in back-to-back games. But now we take our eyes over to Taco as the winners bracket continues. I'm Toby, joined by Matrim. And in just a short moment, Matt, we're gonna see these teams play their way through Taco. And our winners of last game, Tai Lu, oh, they've been looking pretty hot on that map too.
Yeah, I mean, we were just joking going into this one. Hey, at least it's not military base, but as you pointed out, hey, there is technically a military base on it, so you never know. We'll have to see how the circles come into this one play. As we're looking in, consistency in kills feels like a big thing that we're going to be kind of keeping an eye on throughout the day. Is with the circles being this cruel, finding a way to make sure that you can at least keep your points per game average up is going to be big. Like we were looking back into it, Cerberus, not the best first game, but still managed to pick up 6 kills, went out at 15th, but then managed to follow that back up with a 5th place in 14 kills. It's been the kills that have been balancing back out. Same thing for FaZe, right? Yeah. First and 10 kills, and then 15th and 0. You got to be focused on your points per games as far as the series is going to be going.
And that's what we were talking about before. 2 military games, sure, but they played out very, very differently. But now we are headed on over to Taco, one of 2 Tacos that will be played here in these winners bracket matches. So here we go. We saw just briefly before on Salute's screen that it is a very fair playing path. Pretty much, honestly, as fair as can be on Taco.
Unless you're like kind of a shipyardy team, but even then you can still kind of make it over.
Yeah.
Like I find in Taco, there's not really too much unless we get one of those crazy plane paths that was very far south like we got in the last one, right? Looking out, we'll have to see as, I don't know, the circles have been mean with what, between military bases today, hard shifts being predominant and back-to-back, like opposing side hard shifts, specifically in the mid game. Specifically also on Tago have been making it very, very difficult for our teams to deal with.
Now, I am hoping that we won't see any hot drops because, while you can do all those crazy things in the group stages, winners bracket, you want to be able to get space, get looted on up, and then keep on going on your day. But I was over talking to the players in the arena prior to the matches starting today, and I kind of figured, wait, why are there so many of the coaches kind of maneuvering around between the different team booths and what's going on here? And then I just kind of called off of my ear saying, teams are changing spots, and all of a sudden I realized, wait, 6 teams have started talking about whether it's just rumor spreading. As a coach, you have to be ready for it, right? 6 teams around the same time, just 1 hour before the game started, we're talking about changing their loot spots, and that's gonna play a huge factor. But as we're seeing here, there ain't really any commotion early on outside of Lil Ghost trying to get some early damage in on Na'Vi, but seems like Uber will be safe as the circle heads east.
No military base, no craziness, much more comfortable, but in just the thick of everything, I want to point out the fact that we do have a pretty decent stack of rice patties that are going to be inside this one. This is going to be pretty open. For those of you not the most familiar with Tago, roughly imagine Gatka Fields whenever you're looking at them, but with more recesses that you can kind of play and get covered behind.
Exactly, because I was going to say Gatka Fields, I don't think does the Tago rice fields justice, because I've actually seen a couple of endgames in and around the rice fields that as soon as you get compounds out of play, as soon as you get some of that high ground elevation out of play where one team can just sit and overlook the entire thing, once everyone goes, okay, it's rice fields time, it actually proves to be some pretty fun end games you get out of it.
You just got to make sure you get the hills out of it, because if one team gets the hills and everybody else is in the rice paddies, not going to be a good day.
But that's yet another good balance thing on Taco, is that you don't have those same mega elevations that we see on the likes of Miramar and whatnot, and Erangel too to some extent. It's much more leveled out, which means that for the most part, open field areas will be more playable, especially in and around those rice fields. There are, of course, plenty of open barren wastelands on Taco too, but all maps have to kind of have that. And look at this, top kills so far, back-to-back Cerberus players. People were worried if there was just going to be a group stage fluke for some of these APAC teams, but Cerberus, they've come in and said, you know what, we did well in group stage, we're going to pop the head off in winners too.
Being immediately followed by some Sonics players as well. I know there were some eyes drawn to them about some of their performances moving in from the group stage into this bracket, but they had a phenomenal game yesterday, or a phenomenal day yesterday, we should say. So looks like they are definitely coming in with that momentum, with that gusto, even though HWin did have to live some solo lifestyle for a while.
I mean, they came off, as I said, they come off of their last Taco game being a win. Now, the only issue is they're very far from the circle. Last game winner was off of a emergency pickup. We'll see if that's what Sonics are going to do, because not only do they have to backfill the likes of half the server, but they also will have to cross a bridge somewhere.
We're looking at pretty much the center of the circle right now, where we've got FaZe 17 as well as the Expendables. the usual suspects already do centered up, and we were talking about the struggles of teams that like to play edge right now. Well, look at it. Look at the leaderboard. Look at the teams that are already centered, and realize the fact that that's why it's going on. The teams that are finding ways to get center, manipulating them well, and doing a good job of controlling it are the ones that are handling the leaderboard, which is weird because our points per game averages in previous years have been mostly based off of edge play.
Yeah, it sure is. And now while Luminosity is rotating on forward, I'm a little interested in following what we saw the start of the Na'Vi rotation just before, because we saw and heard Little Ghost from 17 Gaming shooting at Uber as he left, but I'm not sure if Na'Vi is maybe expecting 17 to have positioned differently in and around the terminal area, because they are wrapping straight in their direction currently. Maybe just regrouping a bit of where they are, but they're getting very close to 17 very early on in the game here, so it could potentially be some early fights happening. In yesterday's takeover matches, we didn't see the first kill come through until plus 10 minutes. So who knows, maybe with teams centering up, as you were saying, so much so early, that could be different here.
See Danawa making their rotation as Jinji watches it in passing. EJ just going to feed that in.
Yeah.
Only team that's even remotely near them is going to be Danawa, so not too much to be afraid of. Falcons, though, has a different problem, as they're about to run right by FaZe, as they want that centered position, but they've got FaZe on one side, Cerberus on the other. Gonna bypass that, but let's not be done yet, because FaZe is running a split, and that split's also gonna be right next to 17 Gaming. So Falcons need to find somewhere to stop pretty quick, otherwise this is not gonna be a good rotation.
They sure are threading the needle, because as you were saying, they're coming in between a lot of teams. Good thing is, with all the bullet holes in their cars, they're gonna be able to go out and say, great, so there's a guy there, there was a guy there, there was a guy there, and well, yeah, we're surrounded, because that's essentially what they are, and I'm a little worried that now that they had their foot, like their path on in, it's not gonna be easy to get out, but you called the FaZe split, and seems like Falcons is coming to punish.
They just send it straight into it, but the defensive line holds. Krex is going to go ahead and get one. Silzen, though, is going to go ahead and make sure that he's going to go down off of it. He's going to be picked up on the post side. Krex is going to have to step away from it. This is just a duo holding up as Falcons just get ripped apart from everywhere. And now FaZe coming in. It's just a full regroup, and this is just done for them.
Corexi found the first three. They do lose Gustav. That's, of course, unlucky, but Corexi and Gustav bought enough time for FaZe to regroup in this position. What a hold. What a standoff here, as they were able to defend this spot. They only get 2 kills off of it, but that's just, again, showing how many teams are already in this area to claim those points off of them.
And that is scary. I mean, running a 2-2 split, centered, a full 4-man just crashes into you. Corexi just doing massive work there to keep his team in this.
Despite the fact that Falcons die, great read on their part too. They're getting shot at from pretty much all angles possible and still read, wait, there's only 2 cars here. We might actually be able to pull up on this. They do. Execution, not so ill, but also while they didn't do well, Corexi played those angles to perfection.
Tactics only get you so far. Eventually, the gunplay is going to be the secondary factor for it, and Corexi just read it. I mean, just so clean. Most of our teams inside the circle right now, oddly enough, really just centered up, pretty comfy. Day Trade's doing a really wide split out, but they'll get in the circle. They've got one player that's presently over the next to Musatsa, and then they have another one that's all the way over at Prison.
I'm loving what we're seeing from D+. The way that they got them, their highest point came off of them, just full speed sending a Cinder and Tego, holding on the fort in a dip and just stayed there. Now they're going into the exact same spot that we saw Falcons die from just before. The issue is they're running past teams time and time again. They're literally following the exact footsteps of the Falcons, or tire tracks, I should say. Good thing for FaZe is they don't have to defend once again, because they're going in another direction, straight into 17 Gaming.
I mean, you gotta do what you can. Jumps out, Zenith at least gets the down. You can see going for the flush, like, okay, this is going wrong. Let's at least try to get a point out of it.
Yeah.
We do see a separated 17 running similar to what we saw come up with FaZe. Issue is, 17 couldn't quite get the same defensive line that FaZe did. Now it's all slowed down. Regroup is coming out from 17, but you gotta give it. Kia's doing a good job on surviving in this one.
And we talked about it before, 17 having Na'Vi right behind him. There's a nade coming through. You can already see Alia in the minimap on the left-hand side. Expendables starting to flex in this direction too. If this fight doesn't come to a close fast, it's going to be difficult for them to maintain their footing. And just like that, Little Ghost gets knocked. They already have Sushu out, and they have Xiao Wu knocked as well. Na'Vi might just want to fully commit on a proper pull-up here, because they're going to get a good compound out of it, and they're going to take out one of the main threats in the center of this circle. But with only Alia and Melman here, how much does Na'Vi dare risk to claim this compound?
I mean, this
and mortars.
Yeah, you can hear the mortars at range coming in. We're going to have to be careful as we're watching this one. Given how open this could potentially be, too, you can see a lot of teams are having to start to commit. They've got buildings for now, but it's not going to stay that way.
Yeah.
So mid-game mortars are probably going to be a feature we're going to be hearing pop off.
It's not the first time we see Danova and Gen.G run into one another. Gen.G continuing their wrap around the northern side, and Danova again. I mean, it's not that they didn't finish off with flying colors yesterday, but the start to the tournament wasn't too strong for them. And as we were talking about earlier, they've been under the weather. Some of them not feeling too well today, so playing things a little more slow, a little more cautious up here to the north, and maybe, just maybe that's going to result in a fight between them and Gen.G.
This is a very cautious setup coming out from Gen.G. I mean, they got Tainment so far up to the north, making sure that nobody does a wrap back around Yongjian. So it's just more a, let's play this for safety. I would say that if Danova even goes for any directed shots in, they're just probably going to step it back and retreat.
And the only threat that would be, I mean, we know that they don't, the only threat that could be a team pulling up on them over a bridge, well, they're right here. Therodon 5 is going 3 for 3 on emergency pickups so far today. We'll see how many games in a row they managed to keep that streak going. But where, oh where, my dear friends, are you planning on going? Because that circle center is very occupied.
It's been going okay. They are presently just straight up tied in. There's 3 other teams holding down 14 as the circle is going to pop. And while they're going to be in the air, they're just going to go ahead and cut. And it looks like they might be looking more into that question mark. Like, no, I think that they actually see the building that they want to go to, and it is open. So
they came in with the circle pub in, and now they're seeing a compound with no one in it. But as you're saying too, Petrichor are wrapping in this direction. So who gets there first, the cars or the parachutes? It's going to be fun to see as now Summer and Chewy realizing that they're late to the party. And this, my friends, is a perfect showcase of how to use the emergency pickup. You've got to be early, you've got to be smart, you've got to lock up those compounds with no cars in them. A little scary in this area because it is a warehouse. They could have parked their cars smartly. And I think that's something we're going to see more of in the future too. Teams playing reactive to the potential of pickups coming through. Park those cars safe and be smart about it, but pre-nades locked on through. That's Na'Vi denied on entry.
That is just a catastrophe. Now he was trying to hold it. He's going to go down. Mel playing the outside of this one, just the last one up. No real winners in this situation. As you can see, 17 still already down 2.
Wow.
You're going to be able to pick up Na'Vi, pick up those kills, but that's kind of what they've been feasting off of, right? Everybody's just been coming to them, and I mean, still, even if they do go out 8 points already, that's a pretty decent game.
It's a gameplay mechanic that I feel like it's been a while not in the making, but in the proper perfecting, the pre-nades that is, and we've seen it for the last, I would say, better part of a year and a half of how teams have just perfected reading the timing on teams trying to make their way on through. And Xiaobei lops 2-1 over. That's 3 Na'Vi players down. And just like that, just Mel left alive.
I cannot wait. I keep waiting to see it, but I want to see somebody do the pre-cooked nade, throw it over, and then immediately follow it with the blue zone nade as somebody's jumping outside of their vehicles and just watch the catastrophe.
I mean, we saw Pixel with a pretty good showcase of what happens when you combine blue zone nades and frags yesterday. But of course, it wasn't on it was on a pull-up, but it wasn't. Okay, the only difference to what you just said and what I'm saying is it didn't take place outside.
I was more like throwing it over the wall right as soon as they're making the crash.
Okay, fair.
Bye, Sloop.
Yeah, he's gonna leave. All of Gen.G, are they on the hunt here? They might just be low-key. Falls down. Danova now for the 3rd game in a row are taking casualties early on. They've had some individual performances that have kept their score pretty high. First game it was Loki, able to rag up points, and then Salute had a good performance in the second one. But now Loki is down early once again.
Gen.G looks like they're going to have to send EJ out of the safe zone, going off into a different direction. Sonics also managed to find themselves a pathing into this that's just going to be to the southwest of what we were just looking at a moment ago. Nearest friends are going to be them and TE, as the compound where everybody is scrapping at still has Mel and 17 over there. That's going to be to the southwest of them.
It's going to be interesting to see for how long this river is going to be in play. With phase 4 shifting away from the open waters, it's not all of the river here that it's going to shift away from necessarily. And we do know that if there's an area you don't want to be caught, an open area that you don't want to play in unless if you absolutely have to, that is down in and around those riverbanks, especially around the shallow river to the eastern side, because it is just open.
And if we see a shift hard east like that, we already have we actually have QM and Petrichor Road full defended up. Look at that creek, river, whatever you want to call it, that's cutting through. Yeah. If you got a path through that, It's just, I know we make the joke about fish in a barrel. That's about as close to it as you can get.
And if we end there, it's going to be even worse. Let's see. Well, I mean, that's
I am very, very sorry, LG, Cerberus, Day Trade. I did that to you. My bad. Good luck, and
we'll see.
It's fun.
We'll see how far away we shift. Right now, it's right on the top. And of course, Tai Lu is going to group up on 755 and Xiaoyang. Makes perfect sense. Day Trade are going to backfill, but we're in an area of the map now where there's very little to utilize. A lot of open stretches, and for the likes of Question Mark and Petrichor are the only teams on that eastern shore. They're going to have a field day looking towards the west. Issue is Day Trade is trapping on the southern side. Danoa is trying to flex out on the north. They're quickly getting surrounded.
But at the same time, it was they were trying to regroup and fortify. Danoa was trying to make the push into where we see Petrichor Road at. You can see 17 trying to make the cross through. Remember Mel a moment ago that just sent it in just a few seconds beforehand. He's going to stop, gets those shots onto 17. Looks like the push coming out from Danoa is going pretty well. Well, it was going pretty well.
It was going pretty well. He gets the double. Does that mean that Anonix pulls up on this too? They have 2 knocks in the building. It's still doable. It's a 1v2, and unluckily for Anonix, he's down to under half HP, so I think he's going to have to skip this one. And once again, I mean, while they did have individual performances, I guess with Salute and Loki having had their individual games now, it's Anonix's turn.
And look, we've got a party on this hillside. Even Day Trade is there. As Flash is going to be moving up closer to QM. I will say that the beneficiary for all of these teams that moved in onto that western bank as they were trying to come in was the fact that QM tried to regroup at roughly the same time, and FaZe is airborne right now. It looks like they could be jumping in along Day Trade sidelines.
Day Trade has no clue that two players, I should say, are currently flying over them on the far eastern side. Pushus, he's running around, but I don't think he's going to hear anything until right now when the parachutes land. Very, very iconic sound, and he should be well aware that he is now surrounded as he sits down completely spilled. But did FaZe see him? Well, there's your answer. They know exactly where they have him, and there's none of the other Day Trade players around to help defend.
Ooh, that was almost an amazing nade there. Forced him at least out of that. You can see he has no idea what's going on. The rest of the Day Trade really can't commit back in because they don't want to surrender this position.
Exactly.
It's so good for the later stages of this game as that is going to be Na'Vi going out. If they go move to support what's going on with FaZe in the solo, they lose the potential in-game position that they want to fight for. So no, they just have to leave him alone. Pujuice is on his own.
And if you guys are confused, yes, you saw it right. It was Fix that killed Na'Vi, meaning that FaZe are literally playing each side of the circle right now. They have Jeems and they have Corexi far out as east as you can possibly get on this one, and Fex is sat on the other side about 1 kilometer away from his teammates. So we'll see if this wide phase 3 split can somehow work out for them.
Screw the creek. We don't want to be contending with that. Just jump on opposite sides, get kills, right? Points per game average, what you're going to be looking at. Puchus looks like he just wants to get out. Even if he does manage to get out, it's, I mean, it's not even the worst for FaZe as they're just trying to harass in. Circle about to pop.
Yep, Belmont is there to try and help suppress Circles, shifts towards the western side, and Fex is going, guys, why did you leave? We were in a perfect spot here, and
I told you this was the place to be.
Exactly, I knew this was where we had to go, but not to be. Hopefully for them, they have a second emergency pickup they can utilize. In the meantime, now the new damage was done onto Pushields. More damage being done now from Flash outside as the entire team is doing everything they can to help Pushields get away from here.
Just such great defense coming up from Flash supporting. Pucci's playing this opposite side means the fact that he is technically in a 2v2, not a 2v1. Just not a comfy range inside of Corexi. He tried to step out. You see, gets punished. Has to retreat, and this is just really well done. The problem is it's taking so long, so Day Trade, they need to get in the circle, but they can't. And finally taking down Jeems opens up something for him.
And all these shots are being heard by Cerberus, who have just wrapped the entire circle to get over here. Now, Pushels does go down, and Jeems might just be able to get back on his feet. Issue is phase 4 is closing in 3 seconds, and you can't get that first aid on up unless if Jeems has a jammer pack on. Does he? Yes, he does. So he might just be able to get rest in phase 4 here.
And they do technically have a vehicle, but really it's about how long Day Trade wants to stay here. It looks like just Flash is staying behind. The other member looks like they're starting to rotate down to the south away from it. And now it's just going to be more about circle control on a very open, recessed hill.
This is actually huge. We've always said that once phase 4 hits, there's no point in trying to rest in the blue because you can't do that anymore. Jammer packs allows you to do just that. And you can see Corexi not in a hurry at all right now. He will get him up eventually. Jeems is dropping equipment, so maybe they say, you know what, it just ain't worth it having 2 players up here. Let's just try and see if Corexi can somehow get to safety. He has 1 med kit, he has 5 first aids as Jeems continues bleeding on out.
You see throwing down the smokes, trying to prep out, get the vehicle ready to go. I do believe that Flash is now also moved, so that should be an easy rotation to make out from this stage as well. We've got Cerberus that needs to make their way down the hillside, but that means that they're going to be open to potential shots from T5. Remember that emergency pickup a second ago? Still paying dividends.
Exactly. Let's see now the Cerberus going... Well, they were sat on the far western side of the circle just before. Now they're on the southeast. The Snaker sets up shop, finds Norrens. Easy one coming through for him. Did not know what hit him before it was too late in Belmoth. Solo player left for Daytrade is just slowly creeping on in, well aware that he's far behind enemy lines.
This is the dominoes falling from what we saw with that phase separation a moment ago, right? Daytrade had to slow down. They had to try to get everything in. They needed to regroup. They come over here. Now they've lost multiple members. LG gets a free kill out of the situation. Curexy is trying to make his way up the hillside, but you can see there's a problem with that as Cerberus also shifted out in the south. Now it looks like Cerberus and QM might be bumping heads in a moment.
I gotta put him in the car. Gotta bring him with you. Try and get him to safety. Are they just leaving Dogmai behind? I guess so. That's what you get. Well, there's a 1 point at least.
Should have won your fight, man.
Yeah, I suppose so. At least 1 point does go through for Facio. We'll see if the rotation can prove for Belmoth. Not gonna happen. 755 takes him out. Dogmai will bleed out as well as the circle swings right back down the river.
Cerberus getting heavily rewarded for that. They were trying to send it in. Tyloo's got a full defending position onto him. They haven't managed to make it in safe zone yet. But with those shots, now 755 has to contend with LG, who's trying to keep them back behind this one. Tyloo finds himself suddenly pinched as the circle favors them, but also in the worst of ways, QM spraying down into him. Petrichor Road sees what's going on with 755. It's just a mess for everybody in the south.
Tyloo is trying to flex out and do damage to Cerberus, but Luminosity won't allow that to happen. 755 is there ready to defend, but he is just falling. So that is that behind defender gone down. Question mark still yet to make an aggressive play. You can see how open this stretch is, but that is a nade on point, and that is going to be Cerberus out.
We are not even close to being done with this. Nonyx is going to go down. 17 Gaming's trying to creep forward, but where we see T5 out, we've got Sonics. We've got TE also needing to make a similar path, and while this is going to be going on, Shinji making a desperation push up into the area where Petrichor Road's going to be at. While we see all of this coming down, Petrichor Road is defended up. Wasn't expecting the angle that they saw Shinji coming from. Hit a couple of shots, but now Petrichor Road is hoping that these nades can pay up something for him, and they're not going to connect in the way they want.
Once again, a Genji pull-up where Piomi now is here, but was not here at all for the start of this fight. Oh my god, if one nade hits here, that is 3 kills coming through. Do they get away in time? Yes, they do.
But the T5 firing line!
Yeah, you'd have to imagine that is just them running from one slaughterhouse straight to another. They pull up, mistime it, and now they try and get away, but they're in the lowlands, they're in the open, they're in the Valley of Death.
This is the circle. You can see what they're driving into right now. There is nothing to be had here. They're having to take these shots. They're having to eat it. They're just trying to find something that they can cower into, but it's the same time the Petrichor Road's moving forward.
Oh my god,
oh my god, the nade's not even going to go the right direction.
He's blocking off the door.
That is just a hot box. There is nothing to be done for Genji.
That is the most insanely well-timed play there. And you know what, Pio? He just denied 1 point. I'm not against that. They were going to get it. They were going to get it. So for the fact that Pio nades himself, whether it be on purpose or not, at least you denied one, because that was easily going to go the other way. Sonic's now full speed forward, trying to get to the circle. Tanvu finds the flush on the double. The stance here from Expendables works out for them, despite them being the ones to have players knocked just before.
Trimsy all alone and by himself right now, as you can see the 17 duo trying to see if they can maintain being a duo. Tanvu dancing around, multiple members for the Expendables are around him. He spots it out, goes for space. Trimsy spins it back around, but that's just going to be the information they needed. LG is eyeing into this one, but LG, who's been quiet for quite a while, has such a strong position in the circle.
That flick from Trimsy was absolutely disgusting.
Shrimsy, man, there's something about whenever he gets down by himself, if you take shots, he is just on edge and can spin so quick.
Tanvu dies because of it too. I feel like even though I have him on my fantasy team, that is a well-rewarded point going Strimsy's way. What a reaction. What a great transfer in that one from Strimsy's circle back towards the north. We're bouncing back and forth all the time here and can't really fault teams trying to commit to a side because we just continue going back and forth.
Let's talk about the circle for a second because
it's terrible.
T5 has a high ground compound looking into a very open creek bed. and a fortified position that everybody else now has to push into.
And how did they get that again? Emergency pickup right down the middle. So last game they got top 3 off of emergency pickup in their way into what turned out to be a chaotic compound. This time around they beat Petrichor to it by literally a second and a half, and now get to reap the rewards.
And now who's on the opposing side of that creek? Oh, it's going to be Petrichor. This is the circle. How do you move into T5's sightlines? The only problem with it is T5 is kind of committed in. They're worried about what's going on with 17, with the expendables, so their eyes are a lot closer focused right now. So if QM is wanting to do anything with Petrichor Road, well, I was going to say they had the opportunity. Petrichor Road's not even going to allow it. They're just going to move over to here, but this is not the best. But
as open and as difficult as these sort of areas look, it's always so fun, because I've never seen a Takeover ending go down towards this river. It's always amazing to see players make the most of something that we kind of deem as being nothing. There are still dips. There are still micro ridge lines that you can use if you're good enough. And that is exactly what these players are. Xiaobei, well, he takes the head off of Stock Shoes as expendables are eliminated.
A very important thing to note is there is like a weird pathing that goes down this hillside. As if we were to look back up to the right where Petrichor Road is from this perspective, there's like kind of similar to what we're looking at now, right? There's a drop off of about 5 feet that a player can technically cling to the safety of for now. And that's one of the reasons why what's going on over here with Petrichor Road and QM is so important. LG's taking shots at a QM. Once QM is gone, this becomes a hillside fight, clinging and trying to avoid what's happening at T5.
Petrichor set up early. They wanted to cross knowing that they had question marks behind, and that's why they parked the cast the way they did. You would imagine when they came, oh my god, they have mortars too.
Oh god.
Wait, who has mortars too? I'm looking at the mortars go down towards Petrichor, but I'm not seeing where they're coming from.
I had to take a wild
guess. It has to be Therodon 5. They were the mortar gods of yesterday's game.
Or LG in their position. They might have some vision on it.
Regardless, this is a brutal timing to get mortars flying, and you're seeing the explosions continue as more of the map is starting to be torn to pieces by the artillery barrages.
17 Gaming now looking in. QM trying to make some more of their rotation. They do get to that wall, but that's going to be it. We're looking at contained fights mostly between QM and Petrichor Road, as well as 17 and LG. Nobody else really getting too involved, as they don't want to step into T5 sightline.
Exactly. Best of luck should be able to get the rest up to 1. And, I mean, both Adusi and Filfirst are inside the circle. So a good thing for them is no one is in a spot from where they can flush him. But, of course, we all know that one single mortar, and that's death to all of question.
There's that hillside I was talking about. See the path as it navigates through? That's going to be how people are going to try to do something about T5. Yeah, that's about all you got.
Oh, Adusi instantly headshot, and that is going to be the entire team down, and now Petrichor alongside Therodon making sure that question mark could not cross. They get the circle once again, and just like that, Petrichor's position is actually looking really solid down below.
17 Gaming at a ridiculous 11 kills, mostly due to those early crashes and the way that they exploited that. But they're still clinging to life. With the 2 members that they had to do a couple of small skirmishes to get into this one. So it looks like that nade is going to come close, but it is going to be enough to at least shoo them away from it.
They're dead.
Oh, follow-up nade hits, and now we're going to get the hillside firefight. It is going to be LG, T5, and Petrichor Road is, I mean, T5, man, they're so comfy cozy.
Really good nade adjustment from Kickstart there as well. Lops the first one over at where he assumes that they are. Second one, even though he doesn't see them at all or knows whether or not it connects, sends it a bit further towards the right, because you know that that would be the direction they would have run in to try and adjust. So nice read by Kick as they try to maneuver their way further in.
I want to point out that the compound that we see T5 playing from, it has a flat section into it before it leads down into that dip. That's one of the reasons why we haven't seen them be too aggressive, because if they step up, they're technically moving into Petrichor Road sightlines. LG's sightlines is, look, see how you can't really step out and look
it's
down?
Difficult for
It's very hard to profile into this.
It's very hard for Therodon to get off of this ridge line and take a fight without being fully exposed to the opponents, no doubt about it. Oh, Snagus, that's a helmet gone for Chewy, no doubt about that one either, as he's unfortunately the isolated player for the team, should be completely done for here.
LG actually has a pretty strong pathing that they can use from this. T5 finally realizing the vulnerabilities of their compound. They have the numbers advantage. They're now going to start playing this more aggressive. But that does also mean that they're kind of sweeping in back behind Petrichor Road. Petrichor Road just, let's be honest, in some trouble. Axlift just has nothing that he can do. He's going to be out from this one. Means that it's going to be the LG sight lines down in the lower ground versus T5 still just trying to get a read on exactly how LG is playing this.
4 versus 3. Therodon 5 got themselves a second place in the previous game. They're here 3 out of 3 matches with emergency pickups, and now they have themselves a shot at winning this one. Luminosity has been brawling their way through this game. Therodon 5 flew in all kinds of comfort and claimed the compound. Helmus, bests should be in the favor of Therodon 5, and so should utility.
The northern defensive lines are so key inside. Rosted, you can see taking some shots into kickstart.
Yeah.
LG is having to navigate through this one, but again, they have this weird little pathing that they can use to get kind of close to him, but that just puts them in nade range. Remember, T5 hasn't been in the thick of the fighting. They should still have a very large amount of their utility moving into this firefight, whereas LG has been much more open.
Exactly.
Oh, so smart if he gets away with this.
It is smart, but also incredibly risky. If he falls on transition, that is going to be one player down with limited info of what he can feed across. But for now, since he stays put, that is very, very good. He quickly gets the info. Spots 2 on the other side. That nade not far enough. They can't get them over the top of the rock. But as I say that, they're continuing to get close. Mali not going to go far enough either. A lot of utility being spent here by Therodon 5, but no damage done off of it.
Flood has tried to make a similar move to what we saw doing Hasawat doing a moment ago. Moves down here. He needs to get this out of position, but the rock line just isn't going to let him do it. He's on the outside of this, so he's still going to have to get something. This is just a play of desperation, saying we're backs against the wall. There's nothing we can do. That shift coming out from T5 is so good. Blue Zone nade's going to come in, and there is just nothing LG can do. They don't have the sightlines for it.
No sidelines, and now blinded as well as their rocks are engulfed in the blue. More smoke's being locked on forward. Flashes for days as they're taking the eyes out of the head of Kickstart, trying to really deny any sort of vision. It's all on Flood to try and prevent the entirety of Therodon 5 to move forward, and so far he's applying just enough pressure to force them back, but there should be no way that LG is allowed to get the rest on through. No way they're allowed to fully reset, but it seems like Therodon 5 has pushed back. They know they have the dot. They can wait this one out.
They're now starting to go for the res. That little bit of pressure that Flood's provided is enough. Now he's going to drop down, try to get himself into the zone. He just needs to get closer and closer to this off-angled position. Maybe somebody on T5 will reveal themselves, because there needs to be something. This is just trying to play for errors. That's all LG is doing. They're waiting for T5 to make a mistake, walk in the wrong angle, and exploit it, but T5 just isn't doing it.
I mean, T5 is smart. They're waiting. They know that Flood right now is being the nuisance, and they know he has to move. That rock was not inside the circle. Now it's only the cover that the smokes can grant him, and he has none of his own. He's relying on his teammates to throw anything down there to help him out. Hatsawat, though, soon will be in the exact same situation. He has to come off this rock in just a couple of seconds' time. So right now, I think it's going to be Flood versus Hatsawat on the southern side, and on the other side, it's going to be Snakers and Kickstart against the rest of Therodon 5.
And this 1v1 is so big. Hatsawat is focused up the hillside into Kickstart, and the duo, is that going to open it enough for Flood to get anything? He can't find just no angle to work with just quite yet. But somehow, the duo of LG has managed to fight their way into it. Rusted does manage to get down Flood, but here comes the firefight. Stepping in, Snakers gets it down and the flush onto one, but it comes at a cost of him going down. That is going to be LG eliminated, and T5 finding themselves a chicken dinner.
Great win for Therodon 5, making great use of the terrain that they had available. They didn't have to do much, but it's a full commit send to the sender early on in the game that gets them out victorious. But what an effort by Luminosity to fight their way for so long through this one. They knew what had to be done, but in the end, Therodon 5 prevails.
I just got to give respect. There was so much. There was just one small misplay. It was all it would have taken for T5 to lose that.
Oh, definitely.
And they never put themselves in a vulnerable enough position to allow it to happen. And it was just very cleanly played.
And this goes off of what we were talking about yesterday and coming into this one as well. Therodon 5 started off as seemingly scared. When then we've seen the second group stage, they're starting to play with a little